Thank you, everyone, for being here today at Citizen Climate Lobby Canada's Education Call December 10th. Before we start, we would like to do a land acknowledgement. Citizens Climate Lobby Canada acknowledges that the work we support stretches across the homelands of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples on Turtle Island. We are all formed of the earth, and that land connects us to creation. We recognize that colonization has brought deep and lasting harm to Indigenous peoples and to the earth itself. As treaty people, honoring the commitments recognized in the Royal Proclamation of 1763 and every other treaty, gathered from across today from territories across Turtle Island, we commit to continued learning to support Indigenous-led healing and reconciliation and turning that learning into meaningful action. So today we have a very special guest. It's Senator Rosa Galvez. She may be familiar to almost all of you on this call, but I would just like to take a moment to introduce her to you. Senator Galvez, appointed in 2016, is a leading environmental voice in the Senate. Citizens Climate Lobby Canada proudly supported her first climate alignment finance bill, along with dozens upon dozens of NGOs, which aim to align Canada's financial system with the commitments made at COP26. And we're happy to see she's reintroduced a new climate aligned finance private members bill in the Senate, and we're here to help again. So over to you, Senator Galvez.
Good morning, everybody. And let me tell you that you are one of my favorite crowds, and I'm so happy and so proud to be and so honored to that my work is of interest of you, and that together we will progress, and that it is important for us, for Indigenous people, for our children, for future generations, for everybody, and for our own prosperity, health, and safety. So yes, I'm here to talk to you where we are with the CAFA, the Climate Aligned Finance Act, is very much alive, and it's very much gathering support, and it's growing. So at the point, I think the government and they won't have choice, but we will keep pushing. So I just came back from COP. COP was there, and I had the chance to talk with this rock star, Rockstrom, and he was talking about these planetary limits that we have just exceed 7 of the 9, and so this is worry. And I know that most of people feel, okay, what can I do, and what should I do, and how this impacts myself? But I think that television and the news are making it easier and easier for us to understand that this is several crises unfolding, interconnected, and that we really need to do something at our scale, at home, and then in our community, and if possible, get the voice raised to our provincial and then to the federal level, because things are happening. So we exceed the 1.5 degrees. Uh, we are swarmed into plastic pollution, and the ocean is acidifying, and the currents are changing. And so this is really alarming. But at the same time that this is happening, I think scientists have also shown us that there are so plenty of solutions. And I am very, very fond of Radward, the scientist Radward, and its donut economy, which says this, it says that we had a social contract with our governments in wherever you are in the world. We had a social contract that said in global terms, I will work for 30 years, and you will take care of my health, you will take care of a system that will produce education and justice and democracy or good governance, and that then later I can retire and I can live in peace, and my children will have the same opportunities. But this is changing. This is not anymore there. And there is no more horrible, catastrophic feeling that when a young person, a master professor. I've been in front of many young people, and when they tell you, I can sleep, I don't want to date somebody for very long, I don't want to have children, I don't want to marry, I cannot afford a house. What are my possibilities? I'm an engineer, but I cannot find a job that aligns with my values. So that is very shocking to me as a mother, as a grandmother. It really worries me. And so I have internally made the promise to myself that I'm going to keep doing and keep pushing until I don't have any more strength. And I think that people are understanding more and more, more and more. And so the time of education is coming, the people are becoming educated. And whatever this needed to be a marathon, because we knew about this 30 years ago, 40 years ago, now it's a sprint, but we have to keep pushing. So something that I'm saying more and more to these big guys that are in the finance world is that they forget to say what is evident and more evident. First is that we cannot proclaim that a model of infinite growth is coherent with a planet where there are finite resources. This is completely incoherent. This is a unicorn. This is false. So this paradigm, we have to shift this paradigm because nature is what holds us together. And when economists talked about, and just to tell you one example of what I did, and I don't know if the person was Mr. Sabia, when he was president of Hydro-Quebec, and he came and a big speech on how Quebec could have 95% of its electricity, hydroelectricity, clean electricity. Well, I said, please don't forget to say that it's because in Quebec we have these mighty rivers that provide with ecological services, and that's why we can have that. But we have also wind, we can have also tides, we have also waves, and we have solar, and so we should be independent. There is no reason today for any nation, country, not to be independent in electricity because of reliance in renewable energy. So whoever comes and tells you that, we have to keep investing in the incumbent oil and gas, no, that's crazy. That's crazy because the oil and gas, first of all, is at a sunset industry. Second of all, we export raw material. There is no added value. And while we sell it to 60, 20, $16 the barrel during the COVID, then it's refined somewhere else. And then it's come back and it's sold to us at 300 a barrel in the form of other refined products. So I'm saying today that when we export a raw, non-renewable resources, we are stealing from our children because we are not using it in the most efficient way. So GDP is based on natural resources, biodiversity, and ecological services, and it's not the other way around. Now, I know we are all asking what our prime minister is doing, why he put out this budget, and why he's signing this MOU, and why is he talking about nation building projects when a pipeline is not a nation building project. A pipeline is a polarizing project. So I really don't understand what's the logic of it. And when you look at the numbers, when you look at the science, you see that, and there was plenty of science in the COP30, the causes are very clear, are the burning of fossil fuels. So we should stop doing that and we should leave the fossil fuels in the ground. And people will say, well, we want to sell the last barrel. That's the fight today. The fight is who's going to sell us the last barrel of oil. And the thing is that even for the oil sands, we are using clean energy to produce this polluting source of energy. So there is a lot of transparency that is missing. Because if people will know that if we give so much subsidies to the oil and gas in the tens and in the 20 billion per year, asking them, to produce revenues to us. I have heard that the amount of subsidies that we give to the oil and gas is close to what they pay in human resources. So if we are paying for the workers, well, then let's pay it in another sector, in the renewable energy, you know? And anyways, if you see the trajectory of the employment in the oil sector is just going down because they are automatizing. When we see engineers, we have delivered cheap, safe, clean, sustainable technology. As I said, we have in Canada so much potential. We have ocean to ocean to ocean, and we don't have not even one single pilot on tidal, on wave energy. That tells us a lot. Public opinion is overwhelming depending on in the province that you are. In Quebec, almost 80% of people are in favor of more action, and then the lowest is 40%. So in general, we are all for more. And that what happened? What happened if we don't transition? What happened? So what happened is that if we just keep using in our economy a fossil fuel economy, well, economists are telling us that this is inflationary. Completely opposite, which is when we use renewable energy, which is deflationary. Why is inflationary oil and gas? Because at every single step on the economic chain, in the supply chain, you need oil to transport it from here to here to here. At every time there is inflation, inflation, inflation. So while if you use renewable energy, you are independent. You are independent of these geopolitical things. Your economy is more stable because you are not in the boom and bust that is characterized to this economy. And of course, you are cheaper, is safer, is cleaner. And so there is no logic anymore to continue. And every day that we don't transition, every day costs us a lot of money. So the cost of inaction is unaffordable. So we have a Climate Accountability Act, but we don't have a change in the flow. And what is missing is this finance sector that aligns with our climate commitments. During the COVID, we all had enough time to reflect. No, we had plenty of time because we were at home and we were worried, yes, of what was happening. But in my office, we wrote a white paper called Building Forward Better, where I was reflecting on the infrastructure of the future and how to prevent these crisis, man-made crisis, such as the climate change, such as the COVID. So we came out with a white paper, and everything is in my website, where we propose, some initiative in policy. And it was very interesting because that was the year after the COVID. And we found some of these initiatives in the budget at that time of Mr. Trudeau. I won't remember the name of his budget at that time, but that showed me that they were ready to listen to facts, to science, to to the to engineers and the solutions that are there. The nature-based solution, the return on natural investment, the natural capital investment, that return that we have in education and training, and the benefits of a low carbon economy, the care economy, the circular economy. And so I was really, really very happy to see, okay, we can influence. I know now that there is a point, and when you are as a lobbyist, you must know that now the budget cycle has changed. And there are moments in which we can go and present this thing. And if we are at the right time, at the right window, talking to the right person, there is some things that can move. So that's very interesting. Now, we see again in the COPs, not only the climate COP, but we see I've been in the desertification COP, in the plastic COP, in the what was the other COP? There were 4 COPs that I went there. Certification, the plastic, the climate, and biodiversity. And so, because it is very important that we connect the dots, the UN process, it's good, but it has some flaws. And one of the flaws that I see is that they work in silo and that they work by consensus. So even though you have the vast majority agreeing in something, because it's of consensus, it's like giving the veto power to 1 or 2 nations that come and say, "Well, I don't want to see the word fossil fuels in the statement, or I don't want to see face out or face down," and so that has to change. But what this COP has shown is that we cannot let the ambition drop, and we have to ask for more. It is so important that we ask for more because the forces against are going to push. Again, in this COP, there were a lot of lobbies. There was more lobbies than represented. But there are things that are changing. For example, before I used to go as a scientist, there was no room as a parliamentarian because I was not in the executive. So it took me several years to push the government to have parliamentarians also going to the COP, so to learn. This year, they didn't pay for anything. They say, I can give you your accreditation, but you have to find financement from other sources. And it was very reduced. Representation of the Canada Pavilion was very small, but there were lobbies, oil lobbyists in there. But we need to have this ambition, and we have to work, as I said, at different levels. So right now, for example, for me, where I find because this is a question that comes very often, is why are you not depressed? Why are you still optimist? And my answer is because I try to work at different scales. And I always go back to that scale that gives me some positivism. So I work at the municipal level. We have a zero waste initiative in my municipality, and I am there. We are in a circular economy initiative. I'm there. And then I work a lot with the Latin American parliamentarians. We have a parliamentary group that is the Parliamentarians for a Fossil-Free Future. And within that Parliamentarian Fossil-Free Future, we came with a group of 20 uh, um, because we had an idea, which is that why we don't push for stopping the exploitation of oil in the Amazon. And I was happy. I was my idea, and I was happy that Colombian, Bolivian, Brazilian, Peruvian parliamentarian jump into the idea, and that we have, for the last 2 years, we work. So in this COP, we push presidents, including Lula, to say this. And even though, as I said, it's not unanimous, it has a lot of problems, Petro, Lula, and the guy from the Netherlands, the ambassador, the envoy for the Netherlands, in a parallel initiative, they decided to launch the initiative to stop oil exploration and exploitation in the Amazon. And for me, why I was, of course, I come from Peru. I've been in the jungle. I have worked in the jungle, even for the oil companies. I have worked for Petrobras, cleaning their mess. But my intention is that if we can give that example of protecting the Amazon, where we tackle 3 crises at the same time: the carbon storage, the keeping the carbon storage there because we are preserving the forest. Second, preserving biodiversity, because that's the other crisis that we have, and reconciliating with indigenous people. If I can show that this works, what will stop me here in Canada to protect the boreal forest, which is burning every year? So that's the way I think. So there is a lot of recent development on the financial area, and that's also supporting the CAFA, introducing CAFA. Europe, UK, in the news this week, UK is saying that they are going to go more intense in the prudential, so being disclosure and mitigation of climate risk. And if you look at the states, if you forget the federal level, there are so many states at the state level that they are still going ahead with that. I also reintroduced CAFA because all the support from you guys and for the 100 NGOs and just NGOs that supported me, I always have my 20-something MPs that supported CAFA, and they are still with me. So Canada is strong. Yes, yes. I invite you to listen to my speech on Canada Strong. I did it yesterday, and I criticized the changes that they are making and why it's just a recycling, a renewal, or a little extension of what was done, but with important cuts and that how this can affect. So this is also very important. There is the promise of made in Canada taxonomy, but it's being pushed to the end of 2026. So we need to still to be present. I'm saying, and this is my new argumentation why we need CAFA more than ever, is because everybody's complaining that we are not competitive enough. We are saying that we are not innovative enough. And when I'm analyzing that situation, it's very evident for me, how can you ask a sunsetting industry, the oil and gas, how can you ask a sunsetting industry to be more competitive or to bring creativity, to increase innovation? No, the innovation and the competitive is increasing in the area of renewable energy, artificial intelligence, energy efficiency, energy grids, batteries, the knowledge economy, the circular economy. That's where we are. The creativity is there, the innovation is there. So let's go into that direction. I talked already about addressing multiple crises at the same time. I talked already about why it's important to be energy independent. And so what is needed is that the capital flows goes into our commitments, and we have commitments. So Canada is signatory of the Paris Agreement. Canada is signatory of the United Nations of climate change. But here in Canada, we have passed the Net Zero 2050 Act. We have passed the Framework for Sustainable Jobs. We have passed the Fighting Environmental Racism and environmental and promoting environmental justice. We have said that Canadians have the right to a healthy environment. So all of that is already a law. So why are we not implementing that? So CAFA is a mechanism, and it's a very creative and a very efficient mechanism because it doesn't move any money, is just being increasing the transparency and the accountability. We have all these commitments. We have to hold the government accountable towards these commitments, face-to-face, vis-a-vis these commitments. And we have transparency because everything moves better in transparency. I just want to add at this point something that I said yesterday in my speech about the indicators, because I'm fighting against the financial system, that these are my main people that I have to really convince. And so one of the questions was, well, the investors need signals. The investors need safety, security, stability, and this. So I said, well, the signals around the world are very clear. Like right now, the global investment trends are favoring clean energy over fossil fuels. All the growth in energy, more than $2 trillion are available for investment in clean energy. That is much higher than available for fossil fuel. So we have our prime minister going here and there everywhere. And why he's not looking for these investments that are there ready to be made in renewable energy? I don't understand. And why going elsewhere and selling parts of Canada to foreign nations when we have our banks and our pension plans, which is our money, investing in ourselves. It's like saying, I don't believe in myself. And that is not nation building attitudes. Um, I talked already about market competitiveness. I'm sure you know that Europe has carbon border adjustment and that there are some obstacles for Canada to export if we are not a low carbon product. Policy directions, China, EU, and many states which we do business are already moving in that. I talked about the innovation. I talked about the risk that is increasing. Financial risk is increasing. Everybody knows that. And also the public demand is there because we want more action. So what CAFA asks is the alignment of federal financial institutions with our legally binding committees. So again, it's nothing I'm inventing. It's something that is there. Plus, it can offer a mechanism to implement something that is already received royal assent and it should be implemented. The Canadian Net Zero Accountability Act, the Sustainable Job, I mentioned that. But what is more important is that globally, leading financial and international bodies recognize that climate risk is financial risk. And we have big organizations saying this. The Financial Stability Board, the World Bank, the OECD, the IMF, everybody's saying that. So why we're not acting, you know? The 7 points that CAFA does are still the same, but we have meaning we want to specify, make it clear that the duty of the director is to align with the climate commitments. We want OSFI to align with the climate commitments. We want entities to present transition plans, action plans, and to progress and to report on progress. And the Prime Minister says, I don't want to focus on targets. I want to focus on results. Me too. Me too. Let's report on the progress. What's the progress done? Ensure climate expertise in the boards, reducing conflict of interest, make capital adequacy at the level of the size of the risk, requires the government to talk with the provinces, to talk with the indigenous people in these, for example, these nation building projects. They shouldn't be talking to the provinces and to the indigenous people after the fact. They should be talking before. And, you know, of course, if everything is fine and we move, then maybe eventually there won't be need for CAFA. So there is a mandate to timely review it, what is missing and what is needed. We have, based on our previous presentation of introduction of CAFA in last parliament, we heard what was said in the committee and we proposed 3 amendments. The first one, we were imposing a capital risk weight requirement. Now we are saying, okay, I can live with OSFI deciding that. So I don't want to take away any of the tasks of the mandates of OSFI. They are adults. They know what's happening, so they can do it. So this is first amendment. Let OSFI decide. Second, before I was saying very strict, if there is conflict of interest, let's remove this person. Now I'm saying disclose it. Disclose this conflict of interest and let's see the governance. Normally the government, if it's a good governance, they should take care of this risk. So again, not stepping on the mandates of boards. And the third is to make it clear that this duty to see for climate risk is just as equal as any other. Instead, I was using the word superseding, giving more weight to this, but now I'm saying, well, I know, I understand there are other pressures, cybersecurity, security, and this. Okay, but climate change is there. So you have to take care of that too. So it's just these 3 amendments. CAFA helps in the transition. I said it before, but here is why exactly we help in that, especially with respect to the developing and skills, trainings, and technology that will work, that it's available there now at the commercial scale, not in potential future technology, like the carbon capture and storage that is being 40 years in the making and still doesn't deliver. So it has to prove, and there must be people with the skills to prove this. So we are in the first reading, and when we come back from the recess, we will send it to committee. And then when it passes committee, goes to the House of Commons. And the question to you, the question for you, or that I'm sure you have, is when you can help me at every single level. You can propose witness, you can send letters and saying you want that a specific witness or group representative of stakeholders come and give witness during the committee study, and then you can start petitions, and then you can lobby senators. There is a group, Senator for Climate Solution, and what I'm thinking is that you can say, well, your name is Senator for Climate Solution, here is a solution. Are you going to support it? Or you're going to still keep educating yourself? Because so far it's just education, but at a point they know. And now I'm saying in my speeches, now you know. It's not that you cannot claim ignorance anymore. Ignorance is it's not anymore your argument. Yeah, and they are running out of arguments. So solutions. What is the solutions? One of the as a senator, we have specific things. First is to check into a problem that the executive is not looking at it. Right now, it is clear that the executive is not looking at the climate. So it just gives us more power to senators to call the attention to the government to this issue. Second, we have to look into how the situation of vulnerable populations in Canada and in our regions. So climate change affects incredibly harder to Indigenous people, to children, to elder people, and people with health issues, and even now to transects of workers, like the construction worker, the trade workers that are affected by extreme heat. So these are the things that senators should look into that. Um, and so from that perspective, we are, not paying attention to our duties, and this is huge. With respect to the others, with the House of Commons, the MPs, there are 20 or plus that support CAFA. I think the idea is to go to the ones that don't support and try to convince them and ask them what are their opposition, what is the problem, and then they will have to say, okay, I don't believe in climate, or I am for oil and gas. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to your questions.
Well, thank you so much to you, Senator Galvez. That was so informative. Well, I think the fact that we have 51 people in the room and 88 registered. Some people couldn't come because they were at work, but they want to watch the recording later. So I think the very high turnout speaks to just how interested everybody is in this bill and in getting it passed, hopefully. So
Thank you.
we have several people sent in some questions beforehand, so let's just go through some of them. So first of all, there were a number of questions on getting CAFA passed. You did speak somewhat to that, but several people asked variations on the question, how can we get this bill passed and garner the Prime Minister's support?
Yes, well, but I still, it is an enigma where Minister Carney is going. And right now he is battling several fights at the same time. And so I sympathize with him, but I think that he made this mess by himself, and I don't know the causes. So yesterday there was a vote on a motion to force the liberals to vote in favor of a pipeline. And I agree with the opinion that vote yes, vote no. It was a Trump. It was there was not a good answer. Either way they were going to not be good. So they voted no, and so now the conservative can say, well, the government is not serious about the pipeline. Uh, I know the issue is a lot with respect to the situation of the United States, but when you have somebody like Trump that is really not easy to predict person at moments, very unstable and irritable, I don't think that we should plan with respect to these tantrums that come out. We have to be the adult and we have to say, well, we cannot deal with this person because we cannot trust what he's saying. So I have to have a plan that makes me independent of that. And for that, and this is what I don't understand, is that why we're not going with all the rest of the world that are moving in a direction that is very clear, which is into the low carbon economy, the clean energy, and the and unify Canada. But a pipeline is not a nation building project. So I have to wait and see. We have a lot of issues with the budget, uh, especially with respect to for example, that red tape reduction, which give a minister all the latitude to forget any bills except the criminal code to push a new technology. And so yesterday we were talking with in the National Finance Committee with functionaries, and they were saying, well, this is not only Canada, there are these red tape expansions are there in many jurisdictions. Yeah, but when you look into the other jurisdictions where this happened, the consequences are negative. And the objective is not what they want. It's not that they have more projects done. It's that there is more litigation. There is no oversight. It creates an even play field for competitors, and so it's like we are ruling by exception instead of ruling by the bills that are there. So I have to wait and see what happens.
All right. Well, thank you. Some more questions about, I guess, our lobbying strategy. Sasqui asked, where are the pressure points worth pursuing and what are the next legislative steps? And then Kathy Page in Calgary asked, when will this bill go to committee for review?
Yeah, so it was supposed to go by now to committee, but because of this chaos that it's unfolding in the House of Commons, we haven't received government bills. So right now it's like we're concentrated in government business, and my bill is a private member bill. So the Senate has decided, okay, so we are putting a pause in private members bill until we know what's happening with the budget, with the estimates, and with other bills that the government will send. So I'm waiting that we come to normal situation, which will be after the break.
Okay. And then whom should we lobby? And is it worth lobbying senators not in the Banking and Finance Committee? I know you had already mentioned the Senators for Climate Solutions Caucus as a good place to start.
Yes. So, very good news is that the new chair of the banking is not the previous one, and this person has agreed with me that CAFA deserve an important, in-depth, and fair study. So, and that's why I'm suggesting that if you have people to send to for this committee, send. Um, the sponsor can suggest names, the critic can suggest name, the president of the committee can suggest, the library of the parliament can suggest witness, and outside people with interest can suggest. So I really encourage you to send name of people, experts or organizations, ENGOs, representatives of ENGOs that can come and talk, because this can be also used by the opposite. Like last year, the chair brought a climate change denier, which was not affected at all by my bill, but she invited her and she talked, and thanks God I said to her, can you please tell me if CAFA is going to affect your. She was a small finance, local finance for agriculture people, but they had very low emissions, so CAFA wouldn't touch them. But she, was talking about all kinds of things, that climate was hoax, it doesn't exist, and this and that. And then, well, are you going to be affected by CAFA? And the answer is no. Okay, so why are we inviting somebody that is not going to be affected by the bit that we are studying?
Yeah, that's definitely a good question and a good suggestion. And then there were a couple of questions specifically on reintroducing CAFA because it had been introduced in the previous parliament. So Laura Lindbergh had asked what were you spoke to this a bit, but what were some of the reasons why it didn't move forward and how these have been addressed? Yeah, I think you did speak to that. And do you believe that this time it may have more edge?
The reasons because we need CAFA has increased. The arguments, the rationale has increased a lot. And so um, when I introduced it the first time, it was in my head, it was, well, we need to start this conversation because it's overdue and nobody's talking about this. So we started a conversation and it moved so much and I got so much support that I realized, well, no, this is important and we will keep pushing it. Anyways, as I said, it's an accountability and transparency. There is nothing radical here, and everybody should be for virtue. We want more accountability, we want more transparency, so what's the problem? And but then I realized that the problem is because the incumbent and I want to say this again because people think I say it as a joke. I said civilization didn't left the Stone Age because of lack of stones. We left the Stone Age because there was better, cheaper, safer, cleaner, efficient ways of doing something. And right now, that's the situation again. So we are in this transition. The transition is unstoppable. And we're going to move. And actually, this resistance is another symptom of that we are in the transition. So as I said, the rationale has increased more and the arguments in favor has increased more. And now the people are more in knowledge. I can say very proudly that my province is moving in that direction of CAFA. It's moving. So at the point, maybe at the provincial level, we will have more things in BC and in Quebec that will say, hey, these things are going on in two provinces. Other provinces may adopt it. And then, as with many other policies, the federal will say, well, if the majority of provinces are doing this, we have to go. The problem is that there is a timing issue. Every year or every week, I will say that we don't move, it's costing us. And so that's the danger.
Yes, indeed. And I think we all agree with you that yes, the moment is now. We need this now more than ever. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that really valuable information with us. And thank you to everybody who submitted questions. There were some more really wonderful questions, but I think that's about the time we have for that portion. Am I correct, Kathy?
Yes, I need
Yeah.
to go. But thank you so much.
Oh,
I want to see you in
oh,
person so we can check. Yes.
so just Senator Galvez. Well, yeah, let's all give a round of applause for Senator Galvez. Thank you so much for that. And could we just take a group photo before you
Yes.
leave?
Yes.
Move the spotlight. There we go.
And if you, yes. If you have a CAFA sign, hold it up. Okay. Oh, a good problem to have. I think we go on to more than one page. Okay, so is everybody ready? All right. 3, 2, 1. And maybe we'll just get one more because we have a second page. Okay. Uh, 3, 2, 1. All right.
It worked.
Well, again, thank you so much to everyone who came, and thank you to Senator Galvez. So, Senator, thank you for your time. CCL members, we do have a few announcements for you. So, if you want to stay put for a moment, but yeah, thank you so much, Senator Galvez. That was so wonderful.
That was wonderful. And even if you're not a member, you're always welcome. Yeah, thanks everybody. Wasn't that amazing? Doesn't that give you hope? Yeah, it's great. I'm so glad she could join us. And thank you everyone for being here and for actually we should make it so they can unmute themselves too now too. So there we go. Okay, so just some announcements to make. Anyone wanting to be on the Senate action team, please put your name and well, obviously your name will show up, but if you in your email in the chat for one. Okay, because we will be lobbying, and I know some of you are already on it, but if you're not sure, just please indicate that in the chat. And if you're not a CCL member and you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, we have ad hoc committees, and we have activated one of our ad hoc committees, and it's the Senate Action Team. So we will be taking anyone who wants to join us, and we'll meet and we'll strategize about the steps we should take to support this bill. And there's no pressure to join, but it's a lot of fun lobbying senators, I tell you. It's really cool. It's like nothing you've ever experienced. Any questions to that before I continue with the announcements? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then, if you want more hope, and because I know it's really distressing to see all these all these policies be gutted, or feel like our climate policies have been weakened. I saw this talk by Simon Sharp, who's an advisor to the UK government, which now has greenhouse gas emissions lower than like before 1900. He gave a presentation that helped me rethink how the economy will unwind from fossil fuels. It's a little bit complicated. I've had to go back and rewatch the video, but the solutions aren't going to be easy. The fossil fuels are very complex and how they wind into our economy. And I think if you want to really feel hope and have a level of understanding of what this 3D chess game we seem to be playing, how we could possibly like make it move faster and maybe even 5 times faster, then please join this. And has anyone have any questions, or has anyone seen Simon Sharp and have anything you want to add to what I just said about what Simon Sharp is about? Yeah, you guys are all quiet today. That's fantastic. Okay. And then I think we're ready for this last one. Um, you know, it was sad to lose that carbon rebate. That was really hard. This was a very difficult year for us, but I think we're ready to face the data that shows that it actually is devastating to the lowest 20% in our economy. And we have someone from the University of Ottawa, Professor Leslie Scheel, who will be presenting to us a paper that he published with the C.D. Howe Institute, which is not a lefty-leaning organization by any means. So it's a really valuable paper. And, there's always a small hope that we could get that back. It's not what we'll lobby for, but if anybody wants to champion it, we'll be there to support them. We're just looking for a political champion. But I think this is worth looking at. And yeah, thanks. And I think that's it, Mary Blake. Oh, yes. So just a reminder that we have our monthly catch-up calls circa the second Saturday of the month. So that's tomorrow and Friday. We meet. You can pick one, and there are action sheets. And then tonight we have our Right to Ignite, and we'll resume our Intro to CCL Canada calls on January 21st. And circle the date. We're going to Ottawa, not for a giant conference this time, more like for a rendezvous and hopefully doing something fun on Tuesday, June the 2nd. We're just waiting for details. So, and we have some questions in the chat. Okay. Is there more information about the, I'm getting an echo. That's weird. Is there more information about the, yes. Yeah, just Dora, uh, we meet and we're going to formulate a lobbying plan and an action plan to support this bill. That's it. It's just, and we have like a Google Docs, and Mary Blake's the one who is the lead facilitator on that. Is that enough of an answer for you?
Sure, I guess. Are you meeting just once?
No,
And where do I sign up?
just put your name in the chat and your
Okay.
email if you can, and we will put you on we have a Google Doc that has a collection of all the people who want to be in that group, and we'll email people, and we will probably be meeting more than once. We have to, lay out a plan of how we might support this, and then we'll have some actions to do. We'll probably do a phone zap when we think it's strategically a good time. We might have an open letter. We might send some Valentine's cards to the Senate. Who knows? Um, so, but we have to decide this as a group. And
That's
yeah,
great.
okay. Great question. And I see, Lynn, you will have a question.
Just wanted to share a Star article about our organizing here in Toronto, where they were going to take a step back on a bunch of things in our climate plan. And people spoke up, and we made a difference. So it's just an encouraging article, and thank you to anyone who was involved with that. Not directly CCL, but definitely CCLers were part of it. So thank you very much. Like Laura, for example. Yeah, it was great. Good effort.
Yeah, that is CCL, because although we lobby at the federal level for very specific policies, we support actions at all levels of government, and that's how we build political will locally. So thank you to all the CCLers that supported that action in Toronto. Any last questions or comments? Because we're going to end early, which is totally CCL. That's fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you. You can go, or I'll stay if you want to ask any questions. But Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, happy whatever you celebrate this time of year. If I don't see you, but hopefully I'll see some of you on Thursday and Friday, because we got to dig into the weeds this week because we got some planning ahead.